Bonjour, bonjour, and welcome to 35 Things I Am Unlearning at the Age of 35, lesson number 4. And today I am unlearning that pressure makes me better. Pressure, I think my whole life, I've always had my back against the wall. And I think we've been raised a bit like this because my dad was also an entrepreneur. My mom didn't work in the past, so it was like classic case of the dad works, brings the money, the woman just takes care of the kids, of food, of everything, okay? And these are all the things that I'm actually learning from the past year and a half of being slapped during 2025 and just like talking with my mom. And so much of what she shared explained our behaviors, also as a family, but also our own personal behaviors. And there's always been a lot of pressure because when you are an entrepreneur and caring for a family of 4, I mean, we are 4, it's just 2 kids and my parents. But it's like when you have your own business, of course, it's like it gets a bit harder because you can only rely on one person. And if this person happens to be sick, or doesn't take great care of her money, or, whatever happens in life, then you're pretty much very quickly in deep shit. And so we've been sort of like bathing in this environment of pressure of just do the damn thing and hustle and figure it out, Obviously, I think that it built a lot of resourcefulness for my dad and for my mom because they're both from North Africa, Egypt and Tunisia. So it's also like getting on with a system that is completely different from their own country, doing business in a different language, learning, logistics, taxes and everything in a completely different language, country, systems and everything. And so we've lived well, apparently, because when I asked my mom, I was like, well, so this means that we were rich. And she was like, yeah, your dad really had a lot of money. May his soul rest in peace. Allah yarahmu, as we say in Arabic. Every time I speak of him, we need to say that. So, alhamdulillah, I don't even know how well we've lived, to be honest. I don't really remember a lot of things apart from, there was one instance where I left school and my dad came to pick us up and he had like this huge pile of 20 euro bills, and they were brand new because I think this was the time where they introduced the euro and removed the francs. And so I just told him, hey, can I have a 20 euro bill? He was like, yeah, sure. And then he just gave it to me. And for me, it was such a big thing because A, I asked, and also B, it just made me realize that, oh, wow, there sort of is money in this family. Not that I ever focused on it, because when you're a kid, you're just like, well, I know I have to go to school. I know I have to get good grades. I know I have to just go and do my activities like tennis, basketball, whatever, and just be a good girl. So I've never thought of, I've never seen money as like ruling anything. But anyways, I'm not gonna go into the ins and outs of what happened in businesses and stuff, but my dad had a construction business and he was a painter. So he also had employees, and I do remember instances where people would come to our houses, n'importe quoi. When people would come to our house, it was always like filled with people and everything, but that pressure was always there. But I think, from what my mom said, we've lived pretty well. And then my parents divorced, you instantly become a human, because there's only one person who's gonna provide now. And I think that for us, it was really just like, boom, massive growth. I think I was like 15 or 16 years old. I was in high school, that's for sure. But it was instant growth because you're like, fuck, you do realize that there's only one person who's going to provide for you. And this person was, for them, it was the first time that they were working. Like, when I tell you God always had our back, always had my mom's back, and everything is just like, oh my goodness. So I saw my mom hustle, do a lot of different jobs at the same time. She would, combine, I don't know, 3-4 jobs a day. 3-4 jobs a day. And she told me recently, she said, I didn't want to decrease the level of lifestyle that you had when we were with your dad. So that's why she took on so much, because for her it was like, I don't want my kids to live any less than before. And for us, we never really realized, we never realized, because it was just like, oh wow, well, I don't know, if I think of it now, it never occurred to me that she was trying so hard for this specific reason. It never occurred to me, and when she said that, I was like, fuck, man. She had a goal, she had a mission, she had something to pull her through, even when she didn't want to do it. And of course, it's not just like caring for their lifestyle, but it's also just caring for 2 kids who are growing, who are going to university, and who are studying, and who need still support. And so for me, I personally remember, and I think for my brother as well, is that, boom, okay, we're the 3 of us. Let's just take on fucking responsibilities. And so this is when I personally started to work. I think from high school onwards, every time I had a break or a school break, holiday break or anything, I would just fucking work. I worked at McDonald's, I worked in retail, at Zara, in shopping malls and everything, just to bring in some money and just so I don't have to rely on my mom. And same in France, what was nice and what was really good for students is that we had a lot of advantages to be supported by the government, and everything in me said, I don't want my mom to just work hard for us. And I know, like, she probably never saw it this way. And it's funny that now at the age of 35 and almost 64, we're talking and we're opening up and we're just seeing that we both had our mission to preserve the other person. And anyways, this is how, being under pressure and responsibilities, I guess, started for me and also for my brother, because we just didn't want to disappoint also our mom, just because she was alone. Like, grades were always good. We were always the best in school, like very conscientious kids and very smart and very driven. And it was like, all right, get good grades, get your fucking diploma, and let's just keep fucking working. And I remember my brother, he self-studied Japanese. And I've always made choices where I was like, all right, if it was for me, I would have been an interpreter, I would have been a translator. But when you look at these jobs, the salaries were shit. And my biggest dream was to be an interpreter at the UN, because I had seen this movie with Nicole Kidman and I don't remember his name. And I was just like, oh my God, I want to do this. I want to speak so many different languages. I want to just help people like figure out the world and save the world and all these kinds of things. Turns out when you have a job like this at the UN, it's very hard to leave said job. Like if you have it, you just stay there for 50 years. So not a lot of job opportunities there. And so I quickly switched to do something that was practical, because money needed to come in, and also like in my head, I was like, fuck man, this woman sacrificed so much of her life, her desires, of everything. And obviously, we never asked anything. Like, she brought us to the world. And so there's no such thing as like, you owe me or we owe you. And I think that in Arabic culture, sometimes it's really, well, I gave you life, so now you fucking owe me. But I'm so glad that my parents weren't like this. But in my head, it was always like, all right, I need to make money because I want to give it back. I want to support. I want to be there for her. And ultimately, what I want is to retire my mom. I want to buy her the fucking house of her dreams in Tunisia and just give her money so that she could live, because she spent her whole life working, having responsibilities for others and everything. But anyways, this sense of like pressure and responsibilities came super early on. And so even in my studies, even in how I did business, I've always had sort of like my back against the wall. I've never, I think, reflected over not necessarily what it is that I truly want. I've never taken the time. It's like if I have the idea, I'm like, all right, I want to do this, let's just fucking go. And it's been pressure, responsibilities, deliver, practicality, what are the results? Because that's how I saw things were being done at home, where how I saw things being, it's like mimicking, when you see a model in your life, when you see your mom doing 3-4 jobs a day, then you're like, well, this is the model. She's always like running. She's always, moving from one thing to another. This is it. This is how I have to do it. And so lots of pressure. And I learned to maybe enjoy that pressure, like even in studies sometimes. Okay, biggest example of like pressure is that when I was at Nike during my internship, this was a 1-year internship. And when I was doing my master's, oh my God, there's so much noise. I'm not sure if you guys are gonna hear me. So when I was doing my master's, from the very first year, we already knew that we had a thesis to write. And people, they advised us already to just think of the topic, check with your supervisor, do back and forth. And you know what I did? I had a topic, And last minute, when I was at Nike during my internship, the first year, this was 2015, 2016, I started in June 2015. I was supposed to hand it in November, end of October. No. 31st of October, I know, because when I handed it in, I bought 2 pairs of shoes. This I will always remember. And they were also like Halloween stuff. Anyways, Halloween collection. And so I completely changed, first of all, my thesis, the theme of my thesis, which was approved, which was fine. But then I already had the theme when I was at Nike in June, Do you know when I wrote that motherfucking thesis? In October. From the 1st of October into the 31st of October, I fucking wrote my thesis. Because the whole time I was like, c'est bon, I have time, it's fine. I'll just fucking do it in very last minute. Very last minute equals pressure. Very last minute equals you wake up at 5. You write your thesis until 6, then you have breakfast, and then you go take 1 hour train ride until Nike campus. And what do you do in the 1 hour train ride? You keep writing. And then you have your day of work, which is already from 9 until, let's be honest, 7, 8 p.m. sometimes, because I was an intern and doing a lot of different things, which I absolutely loved. And then you go back, 1 hour train ride, you write in the train, then you go home, and then you just have dinner, then sleep, and then do that for 31 days. And obviously all my weekends were just about writing and correcting and formatting and everything. My God, when I think of it, I would never be able to do that now. Genre vraiment. I don't know where I found the fucking strength and stamina and resilience to do that and show up during my internship and over deliver even in my internship. But I was like, man, if you're able to do that, you can do anything. But that's the thing also, because when you tell yourself that you're able to do it this way, you keep doing it this way. You keep repeat it this way. And this has transferred also into how I built my business and how I show up and how I showed up in my business. Everything would be fucking last minute with my back against the wall, because I'm like, well, I know I deliver and over deliver and everything is in flow when I do this. I'm not able to do tranquilo and plan it. That's why strategies and social media strategies and all these kinds of things doesn't really work for me, because it's planning. And the amount of time that I put in planning and that I put into fucking Excel sheets and stuff, I'm like, this is a waste of time. This is waste of time, because this is a time and energy that I can put into actually doing the thing. And so it's been great. But as you can tell, after 7 years of business and after 35 years of living this way, it's not that sustainable. I think 2025 was really a big wake-up call, because I don't think, like, really just God told me you can't live like this anymore, because otherwise you're just going to have a lot of health problems. And I've had a lot of, I'm not going to say health problems. The big thing that happened was me finding myself in the hospital with something next to my kidney. I didn't know what it was, to be honest. Still mystery, still clueless about what happened that day. And it happened a few other times during the past 7 years. But, you know, so far so good. But yeah, 2025 again, wake up call of you can't work this way. You can't be doing it this way anymore because you don't want to ruin your health. And also, let's be honest, I think for me, again, everything starts with my father passing away. I'm like, man, we can literally live the very next day. We don't even know what's going to happen. Do I really want to live like that? Do I really want to live in a pressure, push, perform, prove sort of thing? Because at the end of the day, pressure is good and pressure made me super productive. But the underlying source of motivation, I think, was just really this whole thing of proving, of pushing, of pleasing, of, again, being competitive, because that's all I knew. That's all I knew how to do, because I was raised like this. I saw my parents do that. I talked about these kinds of things with my brother, with my mom, and we were all in the same sort of like energy. So again, when you're doing it yourself, but also being hyped almost, maybe unconsciously, by your peers, you're like, well, this is the only way. This is how I have to do it. And then you don't stop. And that's the thing. It's like, oh, merde. Oh, I ruined my fucking shirt. When you don't know anything else, is a thing of not knowing anything else. You just like, you don't question, right? And you only question when something as big or dramatic as, I don't know, losing your health or losing a parent happen. You know, sometimes like when you grow up, I think that it was in me to question it the last few years because of my knee injury, and because really I was just, my life was my work and my work was my life. And I questioned it without questioning it, because I think that in my head it was like, dude, you are an entrepreneur. You've always dreamed of having your own business and building your own life, and you're fucking doing it. What are you complaining about? What do you mean, like, there must be another way? What do you mean, you know? It's the only way, you know? And as much as I'm curious and open and just like very much in tune and connected and whatever, it's just it, you know? And even when you're like, yeah, but there must be another way, like, yeah, but what is the other way? We don't have time for this shit. Let's just keep pushing. Let's just keep doing it. And as I said, it's a lot of like proving, it's a lot of performance, it's a lot of pushing. And when my dad passed away, I was like, half of me was gone. The rest has stayed, but it's also like, I don't want to, of course I'm gonna die. Like, I'm not scared of death, but I was just like, do I really want to live like this? Where it's like, it's hard, you know? It's just, it takes such a toll on your body. And I think that I never realized how grief can really take such a toll on your body that you really have to stop, really have to stop. And so I stopped because I didn't have any other choice. I never thought that this would happen like now, you know? And B, is just very confronting, because you're like, fuck, man, who am I? What do I do? How do I do things? And then, yeah, again, all the other questions came in. And yeah, so I think that pressure is good. And as I said, pressure made me super productive. And make me a fucking machine of being able to build, you know, to create from scratch, to literally have like ideas, insights from my heart, bring them into my fucking brain, and then put them out into the world. This is like the biggest proof that you can fucking do it. Not just me as a person, but anybody on this planet. If it's here, you have the capabilities and the skills to fucking do it. But now it's also like, pressure made me productive, but now I really think that safety makes me more honest. And this is what I'm building at the moment, is like safety. I've lost so much. Last year I've said so many goodbyes, and I'm not regretting any of my decisions, but it is a lot that I have stopped. And when you've only been doing life in a specific way, in a certain way, because even the pressure and the proving and the performing and the pushing has also shown in so many different areas of my life, as in like friendships, relationships, always carrying, always holding, always doing everything basically, and being again that everything person to everyone but myself. You start asking yourself questions and you start really rebuilding from the inside out. And I've spent the last 35 years building from the outside in. And now it's a motherfucking journey to build from the inside out. But honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. It is very disorienting, very confronting, very scary at times, because you're like, how? How the fuck was I able to do it this way before? And now I'm just like, panicking. Sometimes it's panic and sometimes it's like, fuck, I don't know how to do this. Well, I know deep down how to do this. I know how to build a business. I know how to build online. I know how to communicate and invite people into my world and everything. But there's this thing, again, maybe it's a pressure that I'm putting myself, even now that I'm refusing pressure into my life. But it's like this still a bit of pressure to make sure that now it's built from a more honest place, and that I also feel safe, first of all, within myself, and that I feel safe in my own process, because I realize this is something that I've never felt when I built, when I connected with people. There was always this, okay, here there's a transaction, there's an exchange, I need to bring value, I need to, I need. And yeah, it becomes a whole performance. And I guess that these are the biggest thing that will eventually connect all the themes that I'm going to talk about, is the performance. So voila, that's it for today. That's it for I am learning that pressure makes me better, and realizing that pressure made me productive, and that now safety makes me honest, not only with myself, but also with others. And to be continued. We see each other tomorrow for lesson number 5. Oh la la.